Hello everyone, and welcome to another News Coolum video and another plug side chat. So I apologize for not keeping up with the content like I said I would, but there were some final preparations that I needed to make for some family issues. And then, just doing a lot of work and a lot of projects. I've been trying to keep busy with the Ford Ranger Electric, got the bumper on that required quite a bit of fabrication, so hopefully I'll have some updates for that coming soon. And I did record a couple of videos, but I decided against publishing them. Maybe that's a good idea, maybe it's a bad idea, but I wanted to try to avoid some of the more negative topics and just, in terms of what those topics were. I don't like the coincidental timing of someone basically publishing how to hack into an Electrify America charger, and then within just a matter of days, 2 cars getting fried on Electrify America chargers, something that hasn't happened basically in the 12-year history of the CCS public charging network, and something that would really require bypassing some very important safety protocols. So let's leave that for Electrify America's investigation team. And then, of course, the other thing is, too, the big announcement from the White House, where I feel like they were taking a lot of credit for work that really they didn't have any influence in doing, right? Remember this whole Inflation Reduction Act and the NEVI funding, that's all future looking. The work that we've seen with EVs up to this point, they didn't have any hand in that. They didn't influence Tesla's increase in sales, right? They didn't influence GM to fund out EVgo Ultium ready chargers. They didn't influence Mercedes to fund or start funding ChargePoint chargers. So yeah, they're taking credit for a lot of work that I don't think that they had any hand in. But with that too, I want to make sure that everybody's on an even playing field in terms of, if EVgo and ChargePoint and EV Connect and ChargeNet and all of these EV Range, all of these other public charging providers, Blink, you name it, if they have to install new hardware, go through the permitting, the site selection, the site design, all of that in order to access NEVI funds, I don't think that it's fair, or I don't think that it would be fair that an entity like Tesla, or possibly Rivian too, could access NEVI funds simply for opening chargers that currently exist. Is it a public benefit? Absolutely it is. But the level of funding for adding an injection molded CCS adapter onto an existing charger, or simply adding a line of code on a Rivian CCS charger that allows other people to use it, that shouldn't receive the same level of funding as actually having to put brand new chargers into the ground. So I want to make sure that everybody is operating on an even playing field. Now, the fact that I could consolidate that all into just a couple of minutes, maybe it's best that I don't post those other videos, because like I said, some of it's a bit of a rant and some of it is a bit of a tirade. And I know some of you have mentioned that you like it when I riff on some of these topics, because this really is just what's on my mind, stream of consciousness. I don't script, I don't do anything like that, because I don't really need to, right? I know most of this information, and so I'm simply having a conversation with you. Like I said, these plug side chats are really designed to be an op-ed, right? So feel free to chime in if you think I'm wrong or off base on something, or if you have new information that might change or inform my opinion, because that's really what these are about. And in fact, that's perfect for this subject, right? Today's topic, because I'm actually going to need to solicit the community for some information that I don't have, because I have some blind spots right now. I haven't been traveling as much, and when I have been traveling, it's been very regional. mostly down to San Francisco and back, up to Redding and back. So, within 150 to 200 mile radius. But there are some missing chargers, and I don't know where they went. Now, some of them are EVgo, and with EVgo, I'm assuming that these are chargers that were slated to be replaced, right? So when I was in San Francisco, I stopped by a Safeway that had an EVgo charging site, and they had the coming soon, and they're doing updates, and it looks like it doesn't even have a power drop or anything of that nature. Still looks like 50 kilowatt charging, but honestly, in San Francisco, at a grocery store, I actually think 50 kilowatt DC fast charging is perfectly appropriate. You're not getting people who are jamming through at interstate speeds, trying to, juice up in 15 minutes at a Safeway, right? You're supporting locals who maybe don't have charging at home, and they go shopping at Safeway. It's a win-win. EVgo gets the business, Safeway gets the business. And it's an additional win because someone who lives in an apartment or who only has street parking can add 100, 150 miles in the amount of time that it takes them to get their groceries on a given, day during a given week. And San Francisco is not a big city. You can drive around. So, those stations, I understand. And the ones that I'm really referring to with EVgo, there are a couple of crucial locations that are along travel corridors. And these are some of the older original sites. Some of the sites that enabled me, when I got my Chevrolet Bolt EV 6 years ago, to do 500-mile each-way trips. I was doing those 1,100-mile, 1,200-mile round trips on a 2-day, 3-day, 4-day weekend. And I owe that in large part to those older EVgo sites. And so there was one in Bakersfield, a really great location. It was right next to a Walmart and a Lowe's and a bunch of different places to eat. Like there's an In-N-Out Burger literally just halfway across the parking lot, right? You plug in, go grab your food, you eat. By the time you're done, you're ready to go and continue on your drive. And then there was another one in Delano. I don't always know the local pronunciations, but again, next to a Walmart, right across from a huge solar array over the parking structure. I believe there was a Lowe's there too, but I never used that. And there were a bunch of different places to eat. Again, like IHOPs and I think Panda Express, McDonald's, whatever, like a lot of different fast food restaurants there as well. That, again, win-win-win for everybody involved. You pull in on a drive, you plug into a 50 kilowatt charger, you either walk into the Walmart or you go eat a dinner, and then you get back on the road again in 30 to 40 minutes with whatever needs you had met. Those chargers are gone. Now, they're delisted from PlugShare. I've seen reports that people showed up and they were powered down. What I don't know is what happened to them. Now, to me, if EVgo can maintain those leases, those are perfect spots to have both 350 kilowatt and 100 kilowatt Delta units, like those new EVgo sites, because these are off of a highway, freeway, travel corridor, right? So having that option for 350 kilowatt means you can pull in and be out again in 10 to 15 minutes. Or if you are going to stop to eat, you plug into a 100 kilowatt charger and you're out in 30 to 40 minutes, just like you were on the 50 kilowatt chargers, only now you've bumped up even more how much range you can add. So that's an assumption. I don't know. But then on the other hand, where I have a real blind spot is the charge points throughout Utah. Now, some of them have still gone in. You have the ChargePoint Express 250 units going in, but there's now some significant gaps going through Utah that didn't exist before. So Maverick's first stop, it's basically a travel center stop, really good locations just off the freeways. They had 50 kilowatt Tritium V-fill units through ChargePoint. Those sites have gone. They're completely no longer on PlugShare map. I can't see, nobody's checked in to say, oh, hey, this charger's here, this charger isn't here anymore. And it doesn't look like anything's replaced them. And that's a real problem, because those were really ideal locations, places where I could see ChargePoint maybe wants to upgrade to a CPE 250 or whatever. So I'm hoping we didn't just lose those charging sites, because those are crucial travel corridors, overflow for those of us who pay for our charging, and so we're not incentivized to hyper-focus on Electrify America. Having the option of a 62.5 kilowatt standalone charger or a 125 kilowatt paired chargers, because eGMP cars can take advantage of those faster charging speeds. 800 volt cars can actually charge at over 100 kilowatts on those paired ChargePoint units. Having that as an additional option for when Electrify America goes down or when the charging sites are full, that's super important, right? Kyle Connor recently released a video where the supercharger went down and two of the Electrify America chargers at the same site also went down. Now, I happen to know that site, and really within 20, 30 miles either direction, there are ChargePoint Express sites that are pretty easy to make it to, pretty usable sites. So even if, as long as you came in with at least 5 to 10% battery, depending on which direction you go, you have a ChargePoint Express site to compensate for it. And so that's why those are so important. And in fact, looking at the ChargePoint network, and I'm going to get into this in more detail later, it's one of only 3 networks right now that you can use exclusively to travel from coast to coast in the United States. So you can do the whole cannonball run from whatever Red Ball Garage or whatever it is in New York to the Portofino Inn. And yeah, you can go not necessarily directly, because you might have to do a little circuitous route with ChargePoint, but Tesla and their private network, Electrify America, and ChargePoint are the only 3 networks that currently support that route. And so losing those charge points along I-15 through Utah would be a huge loss. So I don't know if anyone in the community knows specifically what happened. I believe those were under the UCAIR, like the Utah Clean Air Fund. So to see them go away, because Mavericks was one of my favorite stops when I was going to Zion National Park, if I was going to Bryce Canyon, right? Those were places where you could charge up before you headed out. And it just made the trip so much easier, even if you were working with destination charging, or in my case, I think one time, the destination chargers were fully occupied, so I had to use the DC fast charger, even though I was staying at a hotel with chargers. So having those as an additional option locally is just a huge benefit. So I hope they didn't just go away. So I'd love to hear what you think. Have you been keeping tabs on your local chargers? Are networks like EVgo and ChargePoint upgrading these older sites, or are they just decommissioning them, losing their leases? And how important is it to you that you have alternatives, right? To, let's just say it's the big 2. If you drive a Tesla, the superchargers. If you drive a non-Tesla, it's Electrify America. But how important is it to you to have these sort of secondary, ancillary, auxiliary sites that basically you can rely on if something is full or something goes down? Because I think we can't afford to lose any of these sites, even the older, outdated 50 kilowatt charging sites at this point. So I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And thank you for watching.